video, we're going to be looking at how we can work with API. Now, yes, you heard it right, API. So before I dive into this API, remember this is a follow-up tutorial on how to use JSON token and JSON array because this makes more sense. The only way we can work with those particular variables is when we are working with APIs, which makes a lot of sense. Now, we have different types of API when we are working with API in Business Central. So I need to clarify this because you might think this is the video you need to watch to understand the entire process of API. No, this part of API now is you have a third party. You want to get data directly from this third party. This video is only covering this part of it. So when it comes to the other aspect of working with API, synchronizing data from Business Central to other platform and from other platform directly to Business Central, that is an entire different video which I would like to make if I have at least 100 comments and requests. So with that being said, so I have this website here that has free API links that we can use for this video. So you can see we have Zippo tab, we have universities list, and we can also just come to this link and see what we are expected to get. So once I do this, I see we have list of name, we have country, we have domain. So basically this is array of objects. So we're going to start off by using a simpler one that has fewer data, which is um, this particular link, zipotman.us. We're going to make use of this. So while we proceed, we can now come into this because I think this is one of the complex type of API, JSON API working with. So without wasting much time, let's go into the development environment. So like we have stopped in the previous tutorial, we worked with a self-created API. So in order for us to work with HTTP, we have some other things to do. So the first thing I will do is I want to clear all this off, and then I want to introduce some other variable. So um, there should be a variable that is responsible for us accessing the HTTP protocol. So I can say client, you can call this client, and then um, so this will be HTTP client, right? So I'm going to have response. So I'm going to also call this HTTP respond message. So you can see we have other properties, but let me see. So we can also say, let me see. Sorry, I'm going to use that back. I want just one CD. So we also have content. So we can have HTTP content. So we have HTTP contents. So we also have what we call headers, HTTP header. If you're familiar with JavaScript or any other language that makes uses of header, if you're familiar with CURL, you should know what I'm talking about. So I can make a separate video explaining those concepts. So this will be based on your comments and based on how many views I get for this video. So we have I was talking about header, so request, so HTTP headers. All right, so this is basically what we need. You can see just what we left out the last time. We have this JSON token object and the rest. So now I'm just introducing these four different um, variable. So the first thing I want to do here is I need the response text. So this response text, as you already know, so I'm going to name this a text. And what do we do next? So we already know we need something called URL, because we need the URL for the API. So the first thing I want to do is I want to say URL equals. So let's go copy this URL link. Copy this. And let me see something. I want to experiment something. If I just do okay, there's nothing there. Control Z. Okay, so let me copy all this. So I want to paste the URL here. So this is the URL we want to work with. So in order for us to start, so we can say there are more to this HTTP content, but I don't think I'm going to be making use of it in this video. So I want to call the clients, and I have different method. I can use the get method, the post method, the put, the send, and all these as there are different usage. So because we can see that this current link is a get method, as you can see, is a transparent one. I only get this method and it return this value, right? So I'm going to be using dot get, and then if I over this again, you see it takes two arguments, the path, which is the URL, and then it takes a response, which is HTTP response message, and it returns a boolean. So as usual, we'll say if this gets this part, which is this URL, if you get this part, please return the response to, let's see, a response message. It's very simple. So I can say then again. So that means if this request actually succeed, I should be in this box. If it doesn't actually too, I should also be able to check. So I can say if response, sorry, I spelled this wrong, but we're going to use it that way. So we can actually check if it is successful. So if we get a 200 status, then at least that is successful. But no, we want to check if it is not successful. Then we want to say, we want to print out some error. So we can say error using API link, which makes sense, right? So we can also further investigate by saying response dot, let's see, HTTP status code. So we can say we only want to check the response code so we know why it failed. So if there are no error, so we are ready to work with the response. So you see, before we add a variable down here, we call that dump object. So we can also make use of that dump object here. So I can say, since I have my response here, so I can say, um, let's see, what are we expecting? So now I can say response dot, okay, content dot, okay. So whatever is inside this response, I want to take the content, but I want to read it as, I don't know if that makes sense. I'm going to explain again. So I want to read it into this dump object. Now, we got a response. And now we are checking if there are no error in the response. If there is error, we want this error message to be printed out. So we are now assuming there are no error. Now we want to get the contents of this. We can as well do it this way and say http content equals um, response.content, right? Then we can now say http content dot read as. We want to dump whatever thing is being caught inside the response. We want to keep it under the dump object. This makes sense. Now, since we now have this, will mean okay. Don't let me say this will mean. Let me console.log this. Let me message it out. Sorry, I just mixed JavaScript with. So let's see content inside http content is, so we can do this one. So I can now further say dump object, right? So let's save, and I'm going to publish. So let's see what we get out, get out. So let's just wait for it to publish. Oh, shit. All right, so I can come forward here and go to the relate and show JSON. Okay, so I wanted to treat this before, but this is a good thing. So whenever you're working with any request outside Business Central from the extension, you're supposed to allow the extension so that you can access HTTP outside Business Central. So this is why we have the extension JSON object by Palito City is making a request to the external service. Do you want to allow? So I want to say always allow and then say okay. So we can now see the content inside is postcode, which is the same thing as what we have right here. You can see. Now we can now work with this in our JSON, right? So let's go on with it. So I can further come here and say, okay, now that I have something, so let me keep this inside my name object. You can name it whatever you want to, but since we have this declared already, so I can say name object dot read from. I want you to read from this dump object. So actually, I know it's going to return a true or false. So I want to say if it actually read from that, then begin end. So if it passed through this, so whatever is within here, um, I want to do whatever I want to do. So what do we want to do? Let's see what we want to do. We can now say um, so we can now start getting of um, each of the data. So we have postal code. Let me just copy this postal code. So we can have a variable assigned to postal code. Now is an integer. So we can have a quick variable here and say var postal code integer. So what do we have again? Let me just paste this thing here, right? So what do we have? We have country, we have country, right? What do we have again? We have country abbreviation. I'm also going to show you how to fix um let's see, places. So we have places as an array. So take note of this array of objects. So we can also take this. So these are all we want to work with. So we want to create a variable that can hold whatever content is within. So we have postal code, we have country, text. So instead of us defining more text here, we can just separate this with comma and say abbreviation, country, and we have places. So we can save this and say once it reads this, I want to get if this dot get, because we want to start retrieving, if it gets postal code. So store the value inside. Let's see the token we have here. Store the data inside name token, right? You can name your variable based on what you're working with. So I want to save myself that stress. So let's see. Yeah, which we have. Then so we can use double quotes. You can see we need to use a single quote. So if it gets this, then what do we want to do? So we want to say now, this is the postal code. So we now say postal code equals to name object dot, oh sorry, name token dot as value dot as, this time is integer. So integer as integer. So we do this. So we do the same thing. And you would be wondering why I keep on using this. So I'm going to do this example and test it. And I'm now going to remove T from this post. So because that won't exist in the data we are getting. And I'm going to remove this condition statement. So you see what happens if I don't thoroughly check. So I'm just going to do the same thing for the rest. So I'm going to paste, paste, and we have country. So I check for country. I also check for country abbreviation. It's pretty much straightforward. I know when you watch this video, that is all you need to watch. You already get it. So because it takes us a little time to digest this information. So we have this as value, and then we have abbreviation, I guess, country first. Country, so we say country is equals to as value, but now as text, right? So we do the same thing here as text, and we take the abbreviation and put it here. So because this is an array of objects, so let's work with it later on. So what we want to do now is we just want to message So we want to say message one column two colon three colon sorry colon. So I want to come here and say that's one, two, three. One, two, three. So the first one is what's the first one again? Postal code. The second one is country. The last one is abbreviation. So I can now say my is, and then I am from with short code. My postal is, and I'm from. So we are going to print out this message. So I'm going to publish once again. Basically, what this API does is it allows us to retrieve what the fuck. So sorry, I'm supposed to use this. I was focusing on that other browser, so it got published there. It is published already, so I just need to refresh so I can take the data. So what we are basically doing is we are only retrieving data through API. You can see how simple this can be. So you don't need to complicate the whole issue before getting the concept of API. What API does is that you already have this information somewhere, but this information has been represented in a JSON format or an XML. Because in this instance, we are working with a JSON. So we are only consuming it and then making good use of it. So you can see my postal code is 31162 and I'm from United States with short code US. So this is basically how to work with API. So I'm going to leave you with the last one as an assignment just for me to know you did it. So if you have done it, please you can contact me on LinkedIn at Oyebo Ali Aziz. I am going to be it will be a pleasure for me to see you work with this assignment. And basically the last one is working with that array. So let me see what you can come up with, and then let's work together to see the best way in working with those kind of projects. So thank you. Do not forget to subscribe because this helps me to place more video here on YouTube, because I'm working normally, and I do this to support the community, and then it's okay for me to get an encouragement to do more videos. All right, so I'm going to probably see you next year, and this should be probably the last video for the year. So anyhow it is, if I would upload any other video, so be it. If I don't, happy new year in advance. So thank you.